Greetings and salutations, my name's David Rodwin and this is some epic bullshit. So today I've begun the Master Cleanser. The Master Cleanser is also known as the Lemonade Diet. The lemonade consists of freshly squeezed lemons, cayenne pepper, and grade B maple syrup. Spicy. The Master Cleanser was developed by this crazy dude, Stanley Burroughs, decades ago. It has a strangely religious bent to the entire philosophy behind the diet, but basically it goes like this. You drink nothing but the lemonade for a minimum of 10 days. 10 days. 10 days. 10 days. I've had some friends do all kinds of complex cleanses where they send away and pay a lot of money to have all these supplements that they eat and then strange things come out of them like aliens, and I wasn't really in for that. This is a very natural, very straightforward process. This is my 5th time doing the Master Cleanser, and I've had good enough experiences in the past that I apparently keep coming back for more. The first time I did it, my girlfriend and I had just split up, and I just stopped eating. For some reason, breakups seemed to be a great inspiration for starving myself. But I decided that wasn't that healthy, and someone had recently told me about this fast, so I went out and I got the manual and I started the diet. Now I should say it's more accurately described as a fast than a diet, partially because you do not consume any solid food. I haven't done it in almost 2 years, so we'll see how my body reacts this time. The first time I did the cleanse, I asked a lot of people what they thought of it, and my friends who were doctors said it was a terrible idea, that I shouldn't do it, and I actually asked my rabbi at the time, and she's like, you know, there is an entire history of fasting as a way to produce spiritual results. So if you're on some sort of spiritual quest, it can be a great way to clarify. Now, I wasn't really on a spiritual quest. I was just sad and I was trying to punish myself in a masochistic way I've never tried before. And it was actually really good for that. The other thing is I'm terrible at dieting. If someone tells me to just eat a little bit less or to take certain foods out of my diet, I have a really hard time doing that. But if I go cold turkey, no food, just liquids, and specifically just one kind of liquid, I have a much easier time with that. I'm not really quite sure why. Now, it's a bit of an endeavor to jump into this whole thing, and I actually got the lemons for the diet a week ago, but I haven't been able to actually really gear myself up for it and begin until this morning. And one of the reasons that I do this fast is because honestly, my eating habits are not very good, and this allows me to reevaluate everything and to sort of start from scratch again once the fast is finished. Case in point, yesterday, this is what I had to eat. At around 11 o'clock, I had an egg sandwich on a very delicious sweet brioche. Then I completely skipped lunch, and I finished my day with a pair of tacos from Tito Tacos, the only place in town that makes tacos just like your mom made in the 1970s on taco night. So the meals that I did have were way too high in caloric intake, in fat, and in unidentifiable meat when it comes to the Tito's tacos. It was kind of disgusting when you look at it. But so very delicious. Another reason I'm doing the fast is because I'm a little bit overweight. Currently I weigh 202.5 pounds. Now the first time I saw my weight go into the 200s, my mind exploded. Because I've always thought of myself as the weight that I weighed in college, 185 pounds. I was never a twig. I'm broad-shouldered. But I have filled out since then, and I think that's partially a natural process, but right now I'm a little bit too filled out. Part of the reason for that is I sprained my ankle, and then months later, as soon as it was healed, I tore the meniscus in my right knee. I mean, I've barely been able to exercise basically since November. That's almost 7 months. Now, I'm finally at a place where I can exercise again. I can do yoga with some abridged positions. I can no longer do full lotus, which I was always able to do since the age of 5. And pigeon is completely out of the question. In fact, any position that puts any amount of torque on my right knee, I avoid completely. For me in the past, days 2, 3, and 4 are the hardest days, but by day 5, if I make it that far, I start getting a kind of high that is really hard to describe. But today's the first day and I'm not feeling that much because I still have residual calories in my body from yesterday. On your average day, I will consume around 2,000 calories, give or take a few hundred. But every day on the Master Cleanser, you only consume 450 to 550 calories if you're doing it as recommended. So the drastic drop in calories means a lot of different things. First of all, I will begin to lose weight, and the Master Cleanser is designed to actually reduce, is the way Stanley Burroughs puts it. In the past, I've lost about 10 pounds pounds in 10 days. I wouldn't mind losing 10 pounds, and that's only partially because my dad says I'm so fat he's afraid I'm going to get diabetes. But, just like with most diets, that weight will come back if you go back to your normal eating patterns, but at least it gives me a chance to restart and perhaps begin eating better in the future. One of the other really fascinating things about this diet is that I have so much more time in my life because I'm not preparing my meals, I'm not eating my meals, and I'm not honestly socializing in the same sort of way. Sometimes that's one of the hardest things about this fast, is that you can't really go out to dinner with friends, or if you do, you sit there sipping water the entire time as you tuck away some lemonade on the side. Now, when you're fasting for 10 days, different people have a different kind of response to this. I know some people who are just laid out, they can barely function. For me, I actually feel like I can function better, I actually sleep less, I have more energy, and I can even exercise. Now, I sometimes have hit a wall while exercising. There's a certain limit when on this many calories how far you can go, but I can definitely do an hour and a half of yoga a day, and I'm actually going to try and go out for a run in just a little while. So I'm going to check in every day and tell you how I'm doing, and I'm also going to give you some more details on what the Master Cleanser is really about, because the philosophy behind it is fascinating. But the best thing about the Master Cleanser is it makes me conscious about what I'm putting in my body for weeks after I'm done. And I'd love to know what you're putting in your body, so comment down below, share this with friends, hit like, subscribe, and with that, I think it's time to go for a run.
My name's David Rodwin, and this was some epic bullshit. I haven't done that since episode 2.